Welcome to A Look Inside. I'm your host, Demetria Head, and today I have a very special guest hailing from Memphis, Tennessee, the ambassador of instrumental soul, jazz flautist Darryl Evan Jones.
How you doing?
Welcome, Darryl.
Yes. By way of the Boogie Down Bronx, let's never forget my roots. Yes,
Right. Never
yeah,
forget where you came from.
never.
So let's get into it. You have an
Okay,
album coming out August
yes, I do.
16th. So we're going to talk about a couple of those songs on your album. So I want to start out by asking you, what was the most unexpected influence on your music that might surprise your fans?
Most unexpected.
Hmm.
I guess from their perspective, um, because I think so. The answer is Parliament Funkadelic. And I think it will surprise most people because when they think flute, although one of the members of Funkadelic did play a flute, wasn't his primary, but he played it. I think most people would just think classical or something a little bit more subdued, but no, definitely Parliament Funkadelic, and not and this I'm going to say an entire genre that actually influenced it as well. There are actually two genres that really influenced it. One is gospel, and the other is the original sounds of hip hop.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. I can see the gospel, but
Mm-hmm,
I'm
mm-hmm.
really surprised. I'm really surprised about the hip hop, but in a good
Wow.
way.
Okay.
I'm pleasantly surprised by that.
Yeah,
Okay, so
yeah.
can you share a specific moment in your childhood that you feel directly impacted your musical journey?
Oh my goodness. There. I'm sure there are many. Um, well, Well, the very first one is the day I got my first flute, which was December 24th, 1974. Surprised I can rattle that off like that. But that's yeah, that was a lifetime ago, maybe a few lifetimes ago. That's when it started. I got my first flute then. Um, but there was I remember a time when in the Bronx we had something called in New York City, every borough had their own borough-wide band. So the kids, I think junior and maybe junior high school kids would audition and become parts of these bands. So I was part of the Bronx Borough-wide band. And we had a feature to do at, I don't remember if this was Carnegie Hall or not. But humbly I say, and realistically I say, everyone knew that of the flutes that were there, I was flute one. But there was a certain coach, teacher, whatever he was, that kind of felt some kind of way about it, and he he worked he worked really hard and got this girl to just for that performance to be flute one, and that was my it hurt. I mean, I'll be honest, it wounded me, and that was when I realized that there's politics in music too.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
you know, I just had to keep going. What was I gonna do?
Yeah. Yeah, that sucks though.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the track Resilient. How
Yeah.
how did you mentally prepare yourself before recording that track?
I didn't. I'll be honest. I didn't mentally prepare myself at all.
Mhm.
As often is the case, have I did not have a melody in mind
Mhm.
when I constructed the song. So I had the bass and the keys and the rhythm section concept in mind. The melody and anything else on the flute for that matter did not come until I went to record. That's honestly when it happened. Um, I believe I always knew the name of the song would be Resilient.
Mhm.
but it's one of those songs where I just had to create it in the moment, rather than, okay, this is what the melody's going to be, and let's go from there. Because there have been songs where I had a melody in mind, got to the studio to record it, and the melody didn't work. For some reason, it didn't lock with what I had done with the producer, so it had to change. But no, Resilient was really created in the moment
Oh,
for the
wow.
flute part. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, we're going to listen to a snippet of Resilient right now.
Okay.
You didn't hear it?
I heard nothing. I'm sorry, guys. I, I was just trying to follow your movements. Like, okay, yeah, but I couldn't hear anything.
And I'm
But
just
I know
bopping
I,
to it.
it's. I know my song, but I didn't hear it. But that's okay, as long as y'all heard it.
I definitely heard it, but my
Okay.
apologies for that. But we'll move on and maybe we'll play it later on in the show. But I
Okay.
do want to pick up with the next question. If Resilient was a painting,
Oh,
how would you describe its colors and imagery?
that was going to be a very difficult question until I remembered the answer to the question is on the wall behind you. That's 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 the answer to the question. So here's what I did. Resilient, though they are more than a decade apart. Resilient is actually my follow up to my Relentless album,
Hmm.
and the artwork on the album cover for Relentless was me standing on a city street, with my flute in hand, and then it kind of fades into this storm, kind of a stormy scene off to the side. You can't really tell it's a storm, except you can see something is swirling, right? So Resilient being the follow up, and close cousins in a way to Relentless, it made sense to me that Resilient is kind of the almost the other side of the coin to Relentless. So what I told my graphic artist on Resilient to do is, I said, of course, the image of me playing, but then in the background, I want a nature scene, but I want part of it to be very stormy, and then kind of do a split screen where the other side, when you come out, it's calm. So I don't believe I told him colors per se. I don't believe I did. But I mentioned the choppy water and this, that, and the other, so he kind of knew what to do with that, you know. So the colors that came out were the blues and grays and blacks and
Hmm.
greens, and then on the opposite side, it gets more surreal and more docile. But
Right.
that's the answer to the question. If it was a painting, it would be the poster slash the album art.
And thus, Resilient was born.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So here's a question. How do you decide when a song like Resilient, for example, is finished?
Finished as in, well,
Like complete, you don't have to do anything else to it.
that's a very hard question. Um, I won't make the answer specific to Resilient, just in general. I'll have a feeling about it. My producer will have a feeling about it.
Hmm.
My biggest music barometer ever in the production process has always been my youngest daughter. When my kids were home, and if I was in my studio and was having a question about something, and she's not even a musician, she's not, but I would call my daughter Tiffany in the room and say, "Hey, take a listen to this and tell me what you think." And if she's vibing to it and she's telling me, yeah, that's it, then I know I'm on the right track. If she ain't feeling it, I'm not on the right track. So yeah, there's often a place you get to where now you can overproduce a song too, by the way. And I don't think anybody necessarily knows where that fine line is. I think that depends on the song, the artist, and the mood. But you can overproduce, and I'm careful to walk that fine line.
Yeah, yeah. So, what personal growth have you experienced between the last album, and the Resilient album?
Good question. Personal growth. I'm glad you asked it that way. I've learned. Oh my God, I've learned so much in the time between the two productions, and especially during the production of Resilient. I learned more about the music making process. I learned a lot about patience. I learned a little bit more about flexibility, a little bit more, because at the end of the day, regardless of the producer, the work is mine. This is my baby, and I learned that you have to allow the music to breathe and grow on its own. I'm not downing any genre. In fact, I won't name genres, but there are certain genres where music creators virtually punch a clock, and they come in and they do their 9 to 5 or whatever, writing music. Yeah. I like to be more organic with it, and let the music. Sometimes you have to let the music direct you. For example, there's a song that was originally supposed to be on Resilient, and I pulled it. I pulled it for hopefully what will be the follow-up album. And this is such a song that from its inception to its finalization, it's so different. I mean, it is dramatically different. Some of the differences happen because of, I'll say, a mistake to a degree, but allowing the song to grow, and then when I give the idea to my producer, and then my producer then takes it to the next step or the next direction, I have the right at that point to say, no, bring it back this way, or wow, and for this particular song, it was a wow, let's go that way. That's not how I was planning, but I'm really feeling that. So you have to be open to it. Sometimes you do have to be rigid. You just hope and pray that you know what those times are.
Right. Now, when you were talking about writing the music, I often wonder, so I have to ask, can music writers get writer's block? Have you ever experienced that and had to step away and then come back?
If I don't care what you're writing, whether it's music, a book, I don't care what you're writing. As a creator, if you never get writer's block, then I question whether or not you're really creating. It happens, and it's frustrating, but we have to remind ourselves, hey, we're human, and yes, that's a time when sometimes you try to push through, but I've found more often than not, it's best to just walk away. Yeah, you got to walk away, let it breathe, don't bother it, come back, and maybe try again. But yeah, writer's block is real. Now Now, my writer's block would tend to be different than I think a lot of people's writer's block, because my writer's block, for example, um, with certain songs, and there's no set pattern for me. I will come up with a song idea. It could be the drum line. It could be the bass line. It could be the chord progressions. It could be the melody, whatever it is. And what that thing is, so that I don't lose it forever, though I can't sing, I'll do my best to sing it into my phone for the voice memo. So I got it. Now I've got the concept of it, right? Because though I can physically write out the notes, writing out the notes, especially in the moment, may not give me the feel that I'm looking for. So I make sure I record it and then come back to it later. I mean, I can go weeks, months, and not have a song idea, and then all of a sudden I get one, and it's like, wow, man, you better lock that down.
Yeah. Okay. So my next question for you is, if you could have any non-musical artist, painter, writer, dancer, whoever, to collaborate with you on a live performance for Resilient, who would it be and why?
Okay, please do clarify. A non-musical artist.
Yes, like a dancer to
Oh.
collaborate into your live musical performance for Resilient.
Mm. Warned the brother about that question. I, I I really don't know. That would take a lot of thought. Because first of all, I would have to have more of an awareness of who does these things.
Hmm.
Um, and then from there, are they the right ones? Is it the right fit?
Hmm.
Because I have visualized stage productions of my music beyond, I don't want to say just like only, but beyond just a concert setting or a festival setting. I visualize it where, yeah, there's the music, which is the feature performance, but then there are other things going on as well, dancing, for example. But who would do that? I couldn't begin to fathom. Now, if this was, I don't know, 20 years ago, nothing against her, I might have said um, either Debbie Allen or Paula Abdul. I might have said that, but I'll still say today. Okay, yeah. So Debbie Allen or Paula Abdul. That's who came to mind.
Oh, yeah, and they both still have it. They both still dance. So,
Yeah, from what I understand, because I saw something recently on one or both of them, and I was like, "Wow, now." But that's yeah. So, Ms. Allen, Ms. Abdul, hit a brother up.
okay, so let's switch gears and talk about Road Trip.
Yeah.
So, can you describe a particular moment in the studio where the creation of Road Trip took an unexpected turn?
It's subtle. It's really subtle. And I don't, unfortunately, I don't think in the snippet I sent you anybody's going to be able to understand what I'm saying about it. They're not going to be able to understand until they actually get the album and hear the whole song. But there was this was from my producer in Maryland, Alfonso Dissel. The song Resilient was produced by a Memphis producer, Taz Field. But
Mhm.
Alfonso, he inserted, it's subtle, but it spoke to me. He inserted this breakdown um, where the song, it kind of mellows out for a minute, and then this this guitar starts doing its thing, and it's not a solo or anything. It's really simple, but it's something. It took me back to Nile Rodgers. It made me think of Nile Rodgers and it made me think of Chic. And when I heard it, I'm like, dude, where'd that come from? And he was kind of taken aback. I guess the New Yorker in me, I guess he felt a little aggression, though he did something wrong. So it's like, no, no, dude, that is stupid. You got to do that, right? So when I got the song from him in its final state before mixing, I sent it to Taz to have Taz mix it. And then when Taz mixed it, I said, that same section, I said, hey, Taz, this is what we got to do. I know you didn't get it this way. I said, but you got to double that section and make it longer. Just let it breathe a minute. And when he did, yeah, it really sets it off.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So, so if Road Trip was a soundtrack for a movie,
Yeah.
what would the storyline be?
I don't know. All right. Wait. So here's the storyline of Road Trip. So Road Trip, and this is one of the reasons why it's on the Resilient album, because this is all an instrumental story of a journey, right? Um, and all of us, whatever our journey may be, you're going to have these ups and downs. If you really want something more than what you got, you got to stay relentless. You got to be resilient, because resilient comes from being knocked down, beat up, and still being able to rise to the occasion. That's what resilient is. So Road Trip, um, if it wasn't for the fact that it's, to me, such a funky song. Now, it's not as funky as Resilient, but it's got a different vibe to it. Um, I could just see virtually any movie where, in fact, one scene that just came to mind to me was in a movie called The Family That Prays, and Alfre Woodard and Kathy Bates are, in her final days. They're literally on a road trip. I could see that. I think I could see parts of it in even like Fast and the Furious, but it'll be a very small part. Yeah, but I could see things like that. Definitely not. No, I don't want to say what not, but yeah. I could see it in either one of those, and I'm sure there's another one that I'm just not thinking of in the moment. But
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, let's talk about improvisation. What
Uh-oh.
role do you think it plays in your music and in particularly tracks like Road Trip and Resilient?
Improvisation to me is not to really not to insult anybody or create any kind of musical separation. But improvisation is one of the things that separates a musician from a musical artist. For example, I played with a gentleman at an event one time. I believe he has at least a master's in music, a pianist. And so if you can put a piece of sheet music in front of him he's never seen before, and he can read it and play it like you would read the newspaper. And he admitted to me, but if you ask him to create on the spot, he can't do it. That is, thank God, that's a gift that some people have. But still, you have, like any other gift, you have to develop that. So for me, the improvisations that are on the Resilient album, as vital as they are, I also have to make sure that the improvisations make a statement. It's not improvisation for improvisation's sake. It still has to be, though there are not words, I'm still trying to convey something to the listener. And if you improvise for improvisation's sake, you lose the listener. And then what was the point of making the song in the place? So that's what it means to me.
Okay. All right. So, how do you think your music would change if you were to create an album in a completely different genre? Because I've seen, for example, like a violinist go from classical to a completely, fully hip hop album with the violin.
Well,
Is that
here's
something
the
you
thing.
ever consider? Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was classically trained.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I grew up, playing in church and playing in orchestra. Um, so learning the disciplines of classical, and there are disciplines, I could do that, and there's some beautiful classical pieces out there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think if I was going to make an album in a different genre, the two that come to mind would be gospel and country. Gospel because it's in my soul anyway, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and country because growing up, though I grew up in the South Bronx, I actually did have a favorite country artist. And it was probably some of it was probably due to who wrote for him. He wasn't my favorite country artist because of who wrote for him, but
Okay.
the artist is Kenny Rogers. Um,
Really?
I love Kenny Rogers. I love the man's music. I love his style. It was the first country concert I ever watched on HBO.
Mm-hmm.
And his main writer at the time was Lionel Richie. So with those two things in my head, it would I think I could almost easily make a country album if I wanted to.
Wow, I would have to hear that. See, I can't
Yeah,
imagine it yet. I can definitely imagine it in obviously in gospel.
yeah,
Yeah, I would. Yeah, you're gonna have to send me a video or post it somewhere so I can hear exactly how that plays out. Because I love country music.
yeah.
Anyway, I grew up on Kenny Rogers, believe it or not.
Uh huh. Yeah. Kenny Rogers is always my number one. Um,
Hmm.
I love Johnny Cash.
Hmm.
Um, um, gosh, moving. Oh, Oak Ridge Boys. Um, yeah, I can go on and on and on, but anyway.
Wow, yeah, I've never heard of them.
Oh,
But
really?
no, I don't think I've heard of them, but I grew up on them. I even listened to Sammy Davis Jr. He did like a mixture. He had a country song that I liked.
He did a mixture. Ray Charles, believe it or not, was actually
Hmm.
country. And just for anybody who wants to check, I believe the song I'm thinking about, which if it's by the Oak Ridge Boy, and I believe it is, my favorite song by them was,
Hmm.
this may not be the official title, but All the Gold in California. So look that up on
Okay.
YouTube. Yeah, All the Gold in California is is in a
Hmm.
bank in the middle of Beverly Hills in someone else's name, something like that. I love the song.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked.
No, it's okay. So, okay, my next question for you would be if you could add anything unexpected, like an unexpected instrument to a track like Resilient or Road Trip, what would it be?
Three instruments come to mind, but on at least one of them, I think it's already there, sort of. My favorite instrument is actually the cello. Love, just I'm in love with the sound of a cello.
Mhm.
So it'd either be cello, an oboe,
Okay.
or something that, to my knowledge, because I don't play the instrument, I don't know of any electronic keyboard to date. If it exists, I don't know of it, that
Mhm.
has had the ability to mimic, correctly mimic timpani. And I love timpani. It's so dramatic. But I would find a way to roll that in.
Oh, wow. That's very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So, what's the most unconventional sound or instrument you've experimented with in your music besides the flute, or has it always just been the flute?
Yeah.
Really?
Okay. I shouldn't even say this. I own a beautiful alto saxophone. Um, it's beautiful in looks only because I suck at it. Um, I tried it for a minute, um, but it really just it's not me. It's not my voice. My natural musical voice apparently is the flute. Um, so my lonely saxophone just sits there and looks at me, and I look
Looks
at it.
pretty.
It just looks pretty. It's my trophy sax. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, so what's the okay, since you've been, and I know you've been in the jazz genre practically all your life, or most of your life, when did you break into the jazz genre?
Okay. So let's be super technical.
Okay.
Um. So my what I call my style
Mm-hmm.
is instrumental soul
Mm-hmm.
because I never actually studied jazz as a discipline, and it is a discipline to be studied.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain rules, believe it or not, in jazz. People think there are no rules in jazz. That's not true. There are certain rules in jazz. So I didn't study jazz. So the if you take an artist like Wynton Marsalis,
Mm-hmm.
you know, he's on a whole other plane anyway. But I did not study that genre. Okay, um, but so instrumental soul is a cousin, if you will, of smooth jazz, but to me, it's the smooth jazz, especially from back in the day with
Mm-hmm.
your David Sanborns and your Grover Washington Juniors and your Herb Alperts and the like. Um, so I started on that. Oh God, when did I think I wanted to make an album? I really don't remember now. I think I started this journey about 30 years ago. And the first time I ever played in a club, gosh, I think the first time was in Providence. I played in Providence, Rhode Island. I was staying with a family friend up there, spent the summer up there. And I think it was the first time I ever played out in a club. I think it was. And I'm saying I think because I connected with these musicians in New York. And I remember the first place we ever played was a spot called the Bitter End in East Village. But I really don't recall which one happened first. I tend to think Providence happened first. But so that was within the last 30 years.
Okay. So I have one more question for you, and then we're going to see if we can try and play Road Trip and Resilient a second time around.
Okay.
But what advice would you have for younger or even older people who are still aspiring to break into specifically the jazz genre and break into the industry, whether on a label or independent?
Two arguably two of the biggest keys I would suggest is study and I mean know your crafts, both musically speaking and industry speaking. Um, because nobody can argue whether or not now everybody has their preferences um, for a song within a genre or an artist within a genre, you know. But nobody can argue whether or not, okay, man, that's a great song. If a song is great, it's great. If you're a talented, really talented musician who has put the time in on their craft, people will recognize it. They will hear that. So you can't argue whether or not the person has the talent. Now, are there people who've made it in history who we could argue whether or not they have talent? Yes, that always happens. We will not go there. But definitely stay on top of your practice and learn the business. And neither learning in either case will never stop. If it does, you're doing yourself a great disservice. So just never stop learning.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Darryl. We're gonna try and play Resilient and Road Trip again. We're gonna start with Resilient.
I might be able to do it on my end.
Okay.
Yes. I believe I can. Bear with me.
But in the meantime, for those who are tuning in, Darryl Evan Jones's album does drop on August 16th. And when can they start pre-ordering?
August 2nd.
August 2nd. So if you want to pre-order before the album drops, you can go to dejmusic.com. I'm also going to include the links in the comments so that you can check out Darryl's website and pre-order the
So,
Resilient album.
all right. So let me know. Let's, if you want, we can try this.
Okay.
I just shared my.
I see Road Trip.
Yeah, let me stop sharing because I got to do the thing that I told you to do. Share sound. All right. My media player is here. Let's see if this will work on my end. All right, let's try. Can you see it now?
Yes.
All right, let's see if this works. Sorry.
That sounds like a road trip.
Yes, it does. All right.
Yes, I can bop to that. Going from here to California, seriously, on replay.
Yes, and I will not be liable for anybody's speeding tickets. If you want, I have Resilient snippet here as well.
Okay, we are ready.
All right, here we go. Oh, let me stop sharing. Oh, Lord.
Well, that was wonderful. So, Darryl, can you please tell our viewers where can they follow you on social media?
Everywhere. So let's start with Facebook. Darryl Evan Jones Music. Darryl Evan Evan Jones Music on Facebook. I'm also on TikTok at Darryl Evan Jones, Instagram at Darryl Evan Jones, and on X, guess what? Darryl Evan Jones.
So you should be easy to find. And we do have the social media for Facebook and Instagram in the comment box. I will add TikTok and X as well. Again, check out Darryl Evan Jones's website at dejmusic.com, and don't forget to pre-order the album before it drops on August 16th. You can pre-order starting August 2nd.
Muy importante. Muy importante.
All right, thank you, Darryl.
Thank you.